Alrighty, recording has started. Um, so like I said, I haven't had a chance to do all of these questions yet, so I'm just gonna kind of go through them and get other people's opinions and give my opinions. I actually really like the questions in here. I like that it's focusing on the book more because I feel like we haven't talked about the book like with assignments in particular enough, at least in my opinion. Um, so that first question where it's like, what advantages and disadvantages did you see the story being told from the mother's perspective? Um, I kind of had a hard time wording it, but I think it was really helpful to like see the outside perspective of somebody who's experiencing anorexia because like I feel like anorexia is characterized a lot by, and I kind of say this in the next question, but I feel like it's characterized a lot by like a lot of jumbling thoughts. Like you feel this way about it one day, and then you feel this way another day. And it's the paralysis of indecisiveness around food and eating and your weight that leads to the super detrimental effects of the illness. It's like you get so preoccupied with food and your weight that you just don't do anything and you stop eating because of it. Um, so seeing it from the mother's perspective really helped us see like this isn't really like the right word, but more of an objective view about it. Because we got to see like her mother stating like this is what happened and these are the actions she took, this is what she said, versus if we saw it from like Kitty's perspective, it probably wouldn't have been like, oh, my mom said this to me and I felt this way, and you may have gotten a little bit more construed stories out of it, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, it cleared my throat and everything. I think it's really interesting. I had already read this book. Oh my gosh, my charger. I had already read this book um prior to this class. Um, sorry, have ADHD. Also sad that this needs to be translated because I do not want people to know everything that I'm doing, but it's fine. Anyway, I think it's really interesting because when we look at anorexia itself, I think on the outside, we see someone that's just, I think all people see is the eating disorder and the anorexia themselves, and just it's about food. I work with a girl here, and I just saw her yesterday, and I tend to I don't know if you guys know what the polyvagal theory is, but it is so helpful in the treatment of anorexia itself. Because it really focuses on kind of more than the eating disorder. For people that have anorexia, I tend to really go into it with the mind of there's so much more to this than food, because a lot of the time it's not. Although food is there, it is so much more than just about food itself. Anorexia is like this little poison, like a little demon in your brain that really takes over your entire life. Um, and so when I talk to people about this, or I really sit there, I just kind of tell them like push aside the anorexia for a second and really focus on who they are and um, who they used to be. Just because when you are anorexic, I love how the mom worded it as my daughter didn't choose anorexia, anorexia chose her. And I don't feel like personally when I see girls with anorexia, they choose to starve themselves for one reason. Because for some people, it's not just about the food, it's not just about their weight. It's truly, there's some trauma there. Um, and so when we dive deep into treating anorexia, I always really try to treat the underlying cause of the eating disorder itself. It's kind of hard to explain. I Seeing it from a mom's perspective is really good. Um, just because all you see is your child deteriorating from the inside out or outside in. But with someone with anorexia, um, sometimes you literally have this cognitive distorted image of yourself in your brain. Um, and it's kind of just forever there. And so when treating the disorder, I try to think of it as behavioral and more push aside the anorexia and see what the hell's going on because it's so, I don't think a lot of people treat it in the way that it should to be effective.
No, I think those are super good points because I had a brother who suffered from depression for like most of my childhood and most of my teenage years. Like it's only been the last like 2 years that he's made like incredible improvements. Like I kind of dragged him up to here for school, and then he got married within a year of being up here. So it's like he's made some really great progress. But when he was like suffering with depression, it's like ironically, I feel like anorexia is one of those illnesses that we see it as just like that, just an illness, and we just see it as like, oh, you're starving yourself. And that's like the end of the story a lot of the times. Like it's like, no, there's other problems that are there that are causing the issue. Like there are plenty of people who have anorexia that may just be doing it because they have, like you said, Karen, like trauma surrounding certain things. It may not even be like a I want to look a certain way kind of deal. It may just be a response to I'm being overloaded with feelings and emotions right now, so I'm going to do something else to preoccupy my mind to get my mind off of the things that I'm struggling with right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the treatment, I think it's so stupid. Not anorexia, but I don't, some therapists are really awful. If you want to be a therapist, don't do this, please. But they had asked my patient to keep a record of her food. Why would you ask a anorexic to keep a record of all her food and calories? I have no idea. When I talk to people with anorexia or just any eating disorder, I tell them to throw that advice in the trash and to focus on more like the nourishment that comes through your food. If you like think about brownies and you make them homemade, you put eggs, butter, sugar, things like that. Um, when you have anorexia, one second. Doc, yes, I'm busy. One second. I'm at work. Anyway, when I talk to people with anorexia, I tend to tell them, I was just like, if you're gonna eat empty calories, get your protein, get your dairy, get everything, because like brownies are freaking delicious. Dum-Dums have 25 calories in them. And so I always tell them instead of tracking your calories, just try to get your proteins and certain things in your food, because it doesn't just have to be healthy food. It can be like if you really want a brownie or you really want, if that's what you're going to eat forever, then try to make it like nutrient dense in that one meal. So it's like, okay, if your max calorie is like 400, add some eggs, add some protein. Because I always tell my patients I have anorexia. Every single one of them, I always say, I said, you're smart enough to know how much food to keep you alive, but enough to not gain weight. Um, and so I always say, just be, hey, you're so cute. Okay. I always just tell them at least try to be pretty smart with the food you put in your body. Because some foods keep you full or more. And as they do that, they tend to be more conscious of what they eat. Hi, princess. How can I help you? One
Yeah,
sec.
Joanne, I can't think of her last name, the daughter
Oh,
of Mark.
good. I appreciate that, Karen.
Joanne.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
That's
Well, thank you.
honestly one of the issues that I took with how Kitty's mom talked about the illness throughout the majority of the book is like a lot of the things that Kitty said implied that's like, yeah, she knows she has anorexia. She knows like to an extent that she is starving herself to death. Like there's definitely a little bit of cognitive dissonance going on in her head, like, oh, I'm fat. If I eat this, I'm gonna get fat. Everyone's gonna look at me. But she said like two or three times throughout the book during superheated arguments with her mom, where it's like, yeah, I know I could die from this. It's like she I feel like she knows deep down, and then her mom pointing it out and like saying you could die from this. It's like, yeah, she knows that. It's not really helping anybody. by saying that. So taking kind of a more, I don't know, easier said than done, especially for a mom, but taking a more, I don't know, low key approach to it instead of trying to go from 0 to 100 super quick, which is why I kind of liked when they started the refeeding process with her, because it's like you're not going to make your daughter start eating as much as she was before from the get-go. It's like you're going to have to gradually increase the amount of calories she intakes with things that she enjoys and things that she feels like she can eat in order to get her back to a healthy weight, you know?
Yeah, I think that's super good. I talked to tons of moms and dads. And like I said, sometimes it's not even about the food. But I always tell them, I was like, it doesn't even matter what you give to your child. Just just give them what they'll eat. Just because like I didn't like the way they approached Kitty's eating disorder. I think that's honestly one of the worst ways you can approach it, just because sometimes the only thing that people have control over is what they put in their dang body. Like, give them that at least, and give them the autonomy to choose between what they do and don't put in their body. Um, and so I think that approaching disordered eating and eating disorders in a way of still giving the patient autonomy, like, right, you know that people with anorexia, most of them, like they die from like cardiac arrest, like if you get to that point. And so, um, some people get to the point where they do need a feeding tube, but I truly think if you approach it in a way where you're like not forcing food down them, but figure out their fear foods, figure out what they're comfortable with, figure out their weight limit, and figure out how to get them to a point where you know that they have control over their food without taking away their freaking autonomy, because that is just going to make it worse forever.
No, I 100% agree with that. I don't know why I remember this detail, but it was from one of like the middle chapters of the book where Kitty approached her mom and was like, "Hey, could I have smoothies instead of milkshakes?" And her mom like denied that request because her mom's like, "Oh, there's way more calories in milkshakes, so that's what you need." And there was just like this whole paragraph, which is like it perfectly ties into these questions about the book being told from the mom's perspective. There was a whole paragraph that delved into how the mom was thinking about what Kitty is eating. Like she's like, oh my gosh, does Kitty actually want smoothies? Or does she feel like it's healthier and lower calories? Does she know that? Or does she not want milkshakes because it actually tastes gross to her and she prefers smoothies? Like she just went down this rabbit hole of of like frankly it kind of sounded like something an anorexic would think about in some ways. That's why I'm like, the middle questions of this where it talks about like, the family systems theory and how the disorder affects the family as a whole and not just an individual. You could definitely see how Kitty's illness and Kitty's mindset was starting to affect the mom as well, because she started overthinking way too much about the food that Kitty was eating
We
to the
also
point of
had
like
lifelong.
paralysis.
Yeah. You guys should read A Polyvagal World. It's a really good book. Yeah.
What was it called?
It's called A Polyvagal World.
A polyvagal world.
Yeah, I have found just personally that that's just the approach that I take when treating people with anorexia. Like, obviously, not everyone with anorexia or eating disorders is going to have this. Yeah, okay. She was sent to Express. She was sent to Express Lab because Amelia couldn't poke her. Okay, sorry. My life cannot be done without me here. Anyway, like I said, like things just not everyone with an eating disorder is treated the same. But I've always found that there's always a reason for the things that people do. And so whether it's about food or not, your weight or not, like I don't like I don't think I've ever met a patient that has an eating disorder that hasn't had a reason to do what they do. So, and the polyvagal world really dives deep into like not just an eating disorder, but just why it's so helpful in the world of psychology. Because therapists nowadays, some of them really suck and they make your eating disorder worse.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely kind of in that camp too. I think I think that's why, honestly, services like BetterHelp are kind of cool because it allows you to kind of shop around for therapists in a super easy way. Because finding a therapist that matches with you is like as important as the therapy itself. It's like if you don't get along with the person that's treating you, or if their approach to treatment doesn't match super well, then you're gonna have a really hard time making any improvements. Um, I kind of wanted to talk about this. I'll give my opinion on this, but then I want to hear other people and what they think about as well. Is like, how is the treatment of children and adolescents complicated by the rights and involvement of parents? Um, I took a very like broad stance on this, but I don't think it makes it not true. I think parents being involved with the treatment of children, um, like, yeah, I think I like at the end of the day, yes, I think it's a good thing for a parent to be involved in their child's treatment. They should know exactly what's going on. But at the same time, sometimes this can lead to like way over treatment of a child or way under treatment of a child. Like I've heard countless stories of like a mom suspecting their kid has an illness and she goes through doctor after doctor after doctor until a doctor diagnoses their child with the diagnosis she thinks the kid has. It's like even if five doctors are like, no, your kid does not have anorexia, or no, your kid does not have, insert illness, but then one doctor will finally agree with her, then they will proceed with treatment and probably be super intense about it. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, you may get a mother who's just like, oh, you're fine. Like, don't worry about it too much. And like, and frankly, that's kind of how my parents were. Like, I was shocked to learn that there's a lot of people that grew up like if they got sick, they went to the doctor. Like I never did that when I was a kid. My mom was the stay home from school and eat chicken noodle soup. That's what my treatment was. Um, and so, you get both sides of the spectrum where you can have a kid that is self-fulfilling prophecy, if, especially with mental disorders. If their parent insists that they have an illness, then the kid's going to believe they have an illness, and you'll just go down this negative feedback loop until the kid, like most likely, actually develops the illness. And then on the other end, you have an illness that goes unchecked, which could lead to just as bad of problems.
I really like what Kate and Hannah said. Like, Kate said therapists mean well, but too easily they slip. Oh, wait. Sorry, Hannah. I thought that was you. They slip into a standardized structure of following symptoms too closely rather than core issues. You must treat the parents and the child. I think it's really good. I think when parents don't know, like obviously when you have kids, you're not like, okay, this kid's gonna have anorexia, this kid is gonna have ADHD. Um, but I feel like just I do like what she said just because every child is so different and they're like I do also like what she said above. I don't know remember who said this, but there is also physiological things and disorders that can come and cause disordered eating habits. Um, and like in children, like I see a lot of avoidant restrictive in some children, and then that leads to anorexia. Um, just because for half of their life, their parents were like, okay, this is incredibly unhealthy, but I'll feed it to you anyway because they avoided the foods that they were picky to. And then they've been told their entire life that food is unhealthy and it's going to make them fat. So therefore, they develop anorexia. So it's not even their fault. Um, and so I do agree that educating parents on just how to parent child is good because I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do think Kate's comment. I completely forget the chat boxes there sometimes. Um, but I think that is honestly a super good point because it's like like I love the wording that anorexia doesn't like evolve in a vacuum. Like it's not usually an isolated incident. And you can definitely tell that the mom's hyperfixation on her daughter's illness probably is a catalyst for the illness. Because her mom is like she seems to catastrophize a lot with her child's illness, which is like, it's realistic, the mom loves her kid, but the book is like 50% of it is incredibly morbid. Her mom's like, oh, she's gonna die. Like this is for sure gonna happen if she doesn't do this. There's there's hardly any positivity in the book, and it's very rare that I see her like praise Kitty for doing things that clearly help her. I don't know.
I really like that. And I also I loved Kate's comment too because in like the beginning of the book, I feel like before the mom really realized like the severity of what was happening, like the things that she was saying to Kitty were like a little like it was kind of crazy because she just didn't even know how to approach it or what to do at all. And she kind of kept denying how big of an issue it really was until like that one night where she had to go to the hospital because like her heart was literally like not beating correctly. And then the mom like finally realized like, whoa, like this is way bigger than I like realized. And she like then she started just to catastrophize and like overthink. And I feel like that probably wasn't very helpful for Kitty or her little sister or just their family in general.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Like yeah, the mom was like aware of the illness at the beginning of the book, but it wasn't until like Kitty was hospitalized for it that she started like losing her mind about it. Like it was just interesting because I didn't go into this book expecting to disagree with a huge amount of what the mom writes. Like I approached this book the same way as like Ellen Sachs, where it was just like, firsthand perspective of an illness. But I feel like this book is oftentimes a manual of what not to do with a kid with anorexia because she seems incredibly overbearing at times. And I don't remember which chapter it was, but like she took so much pride in forcing Kitty to eat sometimes. Like she's like, yes, I did it. It's like I told the demon what to do, and like while that approach might help the person with anorexia get the calories they need, in the long run, it is probably not incredibly helpful. I honestly really want to talk about this question because I want to hear people's thoughts about it. Because I feel like Emma kind of took a back seat a lot in the book. Like, you see the mom write about a few conversations she has with Emma, but I don't think they spend as much time as they should talking about how this illness probably affected Emma. So I'm sure everybody was here when I talked about, but like, I had a brother that had depression for a huge majority of my life. And as much as I want to say like it didn't affect me, it's like, it absolutely did. It's like it's very difficult. He's my older brother by 6 years, and like it's crazy difficult to watch a family member like not be able to do anything, be paralyzed with indecision. And it's like as you grow up, this person that you should be looking up to and should be trying to emulate, all the behaviors they're demonstrating are like, I don't want to be that. And that's probably a very similar situation that Emma's in. She's like, I love my sister and all, but like, she's really skinny. She has emotional outbursts. And I feel like there's no way that this did not have some effect on Emma in some way, like whether she became more socially distant or maybe she became more afraid to express her emotions because she saw how her mom reacted to that. I don't know. I want to hear your guys' thoughts too.
I literally was gonna bring this up before you even want to talk about this question because I feel like Emma just I totally like forgot about her for like most of the book until like it brought her up in the beginning and then it was going into Kitty's illness and then all of a sudden it was like Emma ran away and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I totally forgot she had a little sister." Like and it was just really interesting to me because I feel like you were saying like things that your siblings go through, like they really do impact you too. And I completely understand your sibling with depression because I feel like I related to Emma a lot in this story because like I've had siblings who had really bad depression and I've also had like older siblings who've struggled so badly with like addiction that they've had to like come back home and live at my house. And there's just like so much emphasis on like trying to help them and figuring out what to do that like sometimes I was like, does our family realize like how much it's impacting like everyone? Like, and all of us were kind of just in chaos during all of this. And so I was just like thinking about Emma a lot after it like talked about her running away because I was like, obviously this is really impacting her. And then there was like one page talking about her after she had ran away, and then it went back into like Kitty, and like you were saying, there were just like only a few sentences or paragraphs here and there about Emma and what was going on with her.
Yeah, and Kate said something in the chat where it's like, one, thanks for being super honest. I appreciate that. Um, where she's kind of she's talking about how her family does struggle with a lot of stuff too. And I feel like a lot of us could probably relate to that. Um, and she talked about overparenting and underparenting. And the biggest takeaway I have taken from this conversation so far, I loved what Karen said about letting patients have autonomy. Like as human beings, as conscious human beings, we need autonomy. Like whether, like frankly, to a point, whether it's dysfunctional or functional autonomy, like feeling like you have control over your own actions is so essential to being able to recover properly. And like like I'll be real, my parents were very like overbearing when I was a kid and they didn't really let me make too many of my decisions on my own. And ironically, I feel like that caused a lot more issues than it fixed. And that's probably a huge contributor to why my brother struggled so much. It's because they didn't let him fail. They didn't let him make bad decisions and reap the consequences of it. So it's like when you come to a point where you have to start making these huge life decisions for yourself, like you're paralyzed because your parents have plowed the way for you your entire life. And I kind of see that with Kitty too, because it's like her mom was like, "You are gonna do this. We're not leaving until you eat this protein bar. Like, show me how much you've eaten." And that's why it's just so complicated because it's like, yeah, you need to you need to make sure your daughter eats and like you don't want her to die, but you also don't want to take every obstacle out of her way because then she doesn't learn how to maintain her own mental health and maintain her own eating habits. Sorry if I'm talking a ton. I'm just very passionate about this.
Another thing, I don't remember, it was like one of our like pages that we have to write about the section chapters that we read for like Brave Girl Eating, and it was asking about like how we feel that this may be impacting like Emma. And like wrote a lot about like the glass child theory, where it's like the idea of siblings of children who have like severe disabilities or mental illnesses or other illnesses are often just like completely looked right through by the parents because they're having to put so much effort into helping their other sibling that they like completely just see right through like the healthy sibling. And then it like goes into how a lot of these times like these kids end up developing their own like really deep issues because of this and because it was like there's so much focus having to go into helping this other sibling that they're kind of just like there and they're kind of just like the person who's like, okay, like I don't want to get in the way. Like my parents have so much going on. I just won't like bring this up to them, or I'll just figure it out myself. But
Okay, yeah, I want to talk about this section, but honestly, this this last section, I don't know if you guys have done the prep or anything. I really want to talk about this. Um, but just with the autonomous approach to eating, um, I think it's really hard to say. I don't think the method that Kitty's mom was using is the most healthy way of doing it, but it's hard for me to really say what would be best for her because I'm not really there. Because it really seemed like Kitty just like like I mean like question three says like she had like a genuine fear of eating. She's like I can't eat this. I'm gonna get fat. Like she would pretend to eat things or she would eat half protein bar and throw it away. Um, but like at the end of the day, I feel like no matter what the situation is, giving someone autonomy is always going to be the better choice. It's like, if you really care about the longevity of your daughter or, whoever's suffering with the illness, you're going to have to let them learn how to manage the illness on their own. It's like, Kitty's mom is not going to be around forever. And if it's true, like she says, and that a lot of research says that anorexia is a lifelong illness, then mom's going to die one day. And if you want Kitty to remain healthy and live a happy, healthy life, she's going to have to learn how to manage it on her own, like no matter what you do. Okay. If we have nothing else to say on that, I want to move to this section. Sorry if I'm totally dominating the conversation or anything. Um, but I really want to talk about question two because me and my brother, the one who actually had depression, who's up here right now, him and I talk about this all the freaking time. I hope the church education system rips me apart for this. Um, I have a gigantic issue with how the honor code system and just like just that whole system works on this campus. Like I'm all for there being standards. I'm all for you need to be living these expectations and doing these things in order to attend this university. But this university infantilizes the heck out of full grown adults. Like at the end of the day, it's like I'm a 23-year-old man. I can make the decisions I want to make and I can suffer the consequences for it. But it's not like I'm out drinking or doing heaven knows what. It's like, oh no, I'm at a friend's place till 1 in the morning. Like, and that's a problem apparently. And especially with like booters and stuff. I mean, it totally takes away the autonomy thing that we've been talking about. If you theoretically are at your boyfriend or girlfriend's place and it's 12:30 a.m. You get out and you see your car has a boot on it. It's like, what do most people do? They're not like, oh man, I gotta call the booter now so I can get home. No, they're gonna be like, well, I have a boot. I might as well just stay the night. It's like I have heard that story over and over and over again. And it's like if the idea of booting is to not incentivize this behavior, you're doing a very piss poor job at it because you're just asking for people to do this anyway. I don't know.
I'll share. I as well. It's my last semester on campus, and man, I'm pretty good friends with the dean. Um, so I do agree with you on that. Hopefully the dean does see this video or someone at BYUI because I could care less. I'll take full responsibility for all complaints. My name is Karen Marquez, so he knows who I am. When I have heart issues, he goes, maybe a cigarette would make you feel better. Anyway, yeah, I freaking agree because um, I do think it's really interesting, especially about our church in general. I feel like I know that it's so emphasized that we have boundaries and we have things that protect us, but I mean, sometimes I do feel like, especially growing up in Utah, we are either expected to fit into this mold or you are not a perfect Mormon. I love that. And so it did not, it was really hard for my faith growing up because in Utah, it is like a paste, copy and paste clone of every girl that's there. Like literally you go there, you don't have a fake tan, you don't have fake, like, I mean, you go there and you don't fit the mold. I mean, those girls are gonna rip you to shreds. And I kind of feel like the same it's kind of the same here where it's like if you're not part of a society or you're not meeting up to the standards of the school, you're you're punished for the things that you do. And honest to God, I have chewed out the booters on your behalf. So one of them booted me exactly at the time that I needed to move my car, and I made him take it off because I was like, I am out here.
They
I was
wear
just like,
body cams now
I
for a
don't, yeah,
reason.
probably because I attacked him at freaking the Ridge. Like, I'm sure he felt scared. Yeah, anyway, by my then. I do feel like it's really hard. I see the amount of girls that I see and men that just come here and just talk to me about how they feel. I really try to emphasize that the church is not made up of its people. It's made up of God. Obviously, I don't do that here because that's illegal and I cannot preach at work, but I do, at least to other people, really have learned that. What did you almost get kicked out for? Jesus or crap. Um, I'm so sorry. Anyway, um, yeah, I do agree. The school has taken a lot of autonomy personally away from me because I am in no means a perfect Mormon. Like, I mean, I have just come to a realization that if like most of my life, if I chose like I didn't have a perfect life, but I am definitely not going to subject myself in college to rules. I am literally I am a grown adult and I see too many people come in here and be super depressed that their roommates live by all these perfect standards and then get reported just for coming in late or drinking a coffee or I mean, God forbid, the worst thing that could happen to you drinking coffee is your teeth turn yellow. Like, I mean, it's hard just because how can you have autonomy at a school that takes so much away from you? Although I am so grateful for how cheap the tuition is here and I've had amazing teachers, I do have a bone to pick with the honor code because um, I have literally had to go home sometimes just because I feel like teachers do take advantage of working here. I had one teacher, oh my gosh, do not take human science or whatever. We were talking about abortions in a science class from atoms to humans or whatever. And he had said that no matter what age you are, any man that rapes you, you have no right to abort your baby. And, you know, at that time, I was working with a 3-year-old that had gotten raped. And I also see girls that come in here and get raped. And I had told him, I said, and he also said that if you don't have strong enough faith that you obviously get raped. And I raised my hand, you know, because I have no filter. And I kindly, very passive aggressively, more aggressively said, so you're telling me that all of my patients that come into my clinic because they are victims of rape, especially my 3-year-old girl, just didn't have enough faith. So you're telling me that she got raped because she wasn't that faithful. And you know, he had a rebuttal. And then I said, you're telling me that every member of the church, every person that's not a member, that's involved in sex trafficking, that's a victim of a crime, they deserve that because they aren't a member of the church. So I hope and pray that the dean hears this. And what was his name? he teaches sustaining of human life or whatever. That's who taught it. It was brother. Oh, I don't remember. But I do know that he does plants and I see him at the clinic all the time, but he doesn't talk to me. And I hope he stubs his toe so hard and learns that just because you don't have faith, it doesn't mean you don't deserve or whatever. So I did wish ill upon him for a long time because he just told probably half the girls in that class and men that they deserved what they got because they weren't faithful enough. This is why we need to educate people because he's an idiot. And I didn't go to class. I got an A because I got really mad at him and I was going to. And that's the thing. There's no point in reporting him just because like the school has. I have so much juice on the school because teachers come here for their doctor's appointments, and man, is there so much tea. I mean, um, like okay, you guys want to hear something? I have to tell somebody, but I can't tell you who the teacher was. He's a math teacher. Oh wait, okay, he is. Oh, anyway, it's a math teacher. And also I want to very vaguely I keep HIPAA so good. So um he was a math teacher and the new president of the school, he said that they have never had more budget cuts and less pay and more threatenings to fire teachers than this new president of the school. And he said that he is the reason why we don't get as much extra credit anymore, and he's making the curriculum harder for math students. And the only reason he doesn't quit now is because he's retiring in 3 years. Yeah, he said that he sat in a meeting and the president of the school threatened to fire certain teachers. Yeah, so working at a family clinic, definitely at a teacher's campus, I know so much stuff about that school. Like right now, they're struggling with money. And what else is going on? Like if you've noticed, a lot of your grants have been denied. Um, Want to come with me to tell on him? Well, this teacher is good. The other one is bad. But that's the thing is he protects his teachers. Let's see, the new president. Okay, here's my best one from this teacher. He goes, "Can I talk to you, Karen?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "They say it's all about the students and they say it's all about the teachers, but you know what it's all about? It's about money. They don't give a about us." And I was like, I just want to emphasize that has nothing to do with the church, mostly about people. So, God, if you're hearing this, I am in no way being Antichrist. I'm just saying that that's what I heard, and it was so juicy. There's so much more. But anyway, that's your tea for the day.
This will be the
Yeah.
last thing that oh, sorry, go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I have nothing else to say.
Oh, yeah, this will be the last thing I say because like if no one
Oh
else
my
has
gosh,
anything to
this
say,
meeting is recorded.
yeah, yeah, it's okay.
Oh my gosh. Well,
For all
uh,
intents and purposes, Karen said nothing. She was busy fixing my tire this whole entire meeting. Okay. Um, so the last thing that I'll say is when we're talking about like the perfectionism that we see, like if we're going to relate both to mental illness and like the school and the church, because that's what I really want to talk about right now. The thing that I can't handle is people thinking that they like have to check boxes in order to be a worthy member or be a good person. Because like that's something that I just can't handle. Like maybe I'm the problem, but I've had a few pretty serious relationships up here, but I never felt the need to rush into marriage because I'm like, this is like the most important decision in my life. And the last relationship I was in, I was like, I had a really hard time with her family and I didn't get along with them well. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with this for the rest of my life. And so, I ended that and I was like, that's something that I need. And the thing that I can't handle is that if there are two 18-year-olds that decide to get married super duper young on this campus, they have more freedoms than I do because they decide to get married. It's like honor code when it comes to curfew and stuff does not apply
don't
to
forget
married
about money.
couples. Yeah. Yeah. It's like It's like because I decided to not rush into that decision, I don't have the freedoms that they do. It's like I have way more life experience and I'm way older than you. Like you would think that I would have those same freedoms, but no, I guess not. And so I don't know if I'm going to take anything from this conversation, I just emphasizing the importance of letting people make the decisions that they need to. Like to a point, we're not going to let people cut their hands off because they feel like they need to. But if they feel like there's a decision that is better for them and you don't see any extremely detrimental effects because of it, then let the person take the decision. Like with Kitty's mom, it's like if your daughter wants to drink smoothies instead of milkshakes, let her do that. And if she wants to drink 5 smoothies a day instead of a super high protein milkshake, super high fat milkshake, then let her do that. Because at the end of the day, if you want your daughter to get healthy, do something that she can do consistently. And if she doesn't like drinking milkshakes every day, she's going to quit. She's not going to do it. And she's going to fall down the rabbit hole again. Versus if she's doing something that she does enjoy, she can build a long term habit and become healthy again. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I'm really scared. I'm kind of scared.
Have no fear. I vouch for Karen.
I don't know.
They can come arrest me too.
Don't
I've one
worry,
semester left.
you're graduating this semester. Yeah, like are we all graduating this semester? I'm
I'm
like,
graduating next semester, but
I
close.
graduate next semester. This is just my last semester on campus because
mm,
I just didn't want to.
You didn't say anything incriminating. You're just, giving your opinion.
what happens in the Zoom meeting stays in the Zoom meeting.
Amen.
I really hope that out of all the Zoom meetings she chooses to watch, it's not this one.
I
Like, I think it's transcribed too.
it is transcribed.
Honestly, I take back nothing that I said.
Yeah, don't live by it. Okay. I think we've had a good discussion. This meeting's gone for like 50 minutes, so we've reached the mark for sure. But well, thanks for being such a fun group. I appreciate you guys always having such good thoughts. Good luck on your final. Do your best. I'm like this close to just like taking it the second it opens up because I just don't want to deal with it anymore.
That's what
Yeah,
I
just
do.
do all the extra credit.
I
Do all the
know, I
extra credit,
know.
you'll be fine.
I have like a 99% in the class
Me
right now. So it's
too,
like,
from the extra credit. So I'm
yeah,
like, if I do this extra credit and then I take the final,
bada bing,
whatever.
bada boom. Okay. Well, awesome, you guys. I will post this recording. And I think the last time I recorded, I was horrible and I didn't post like the video link for other people to watch. I will make sure to post it on the announcements so whoever wasn't here can watch it.
This will be a fun watch for them.
I
Yeah.
hope not. Just just do the TR trigger warning. Anyway, have a good day, guys.
Okie dokie.
Bye, good luck.
Have a good
Bye.
one, you guys.